So, thank you for joining us on the State of Scottish Football tonight. I'm joined by a great panel, and it's my good pal Dave and someone I've just met, Greg. So it's good to have you guys on the show.
Thanks, Regan. What a team we've got tonight. If it's not Backstreet Boys, it's YMCA as far as I'm concerned.
No, good evening. To be honest, what I was going to say is probably assembled the best trio since the New World Order from the WCW. And by the end of the next hour, I'm sure all the viewers will be State of Scottish Football for life.
Yeah, I mean it's great to join you guys because I just love talking about Scottish football. So we've got a lot of stuff to talk about tonight, guys.
Absolutely, and I mean, there's the big news about Cam Butcher getting suspended, and also some other big news. It's another day in the world of Scottish football. Boris Johnson's speaking right now, but the main topic is this one.
Yeah, where else would you rather be, Dave? State of Scottish football, the only place to be at 6 o'clock at night. But no, we'll start off with the big news that's just broken in the last 4 minutes, and that is that Callum Butcher is being suspended for 3 games. What do you make of that, guys?
So again, it's almost a sense of common sense has prevailed. I think anyone that's seen the challenge, I think in obviously real time, and then watching it from the weekend as well, and then the subsequent replays, action had to be taken against him. And obviously the case was fast tracked, obviously for today, and to get a 3-game ban, I think is probably justified. Again, I don't know what your thoughts are on it, Dave.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's the right call from Cam Butcher. The thing is that he didn't even go and dispute it with SFA. I think either somebody at Dundee United or himself has probably had a word for himself and says, right, okay, dangerous challenge. I'm not going to get away with it lightly. I'm going to face the repercussions, and he's got what he's deserved. And also, we were speaking off air just before we came on. He's getting Christmas off this year because his suspension will take him through until the 29th of December, where Dundee United play St Mirren. And then the second game after that will be the Dundee derby. So there's an opportunity to replicate his fine run of disciplinary misdemeanours again.
Yeah, Dave, because something I noticed today was that I didn't know right was that, so Callum Butcher has just come back from suspension.
Well, he came back for that game on Sunday. He was out for 2 games.
Clearly, this is a long-term issue for him. Then, it's not just a case of he's made a rash tackle on Sunday and that it's not that type of player. Do you think that the SFA will maybe take that into account? Maybe if he does it in a few weeks' time after his 3-game ban.
Well, first and foremost, you've got to remember. Me and Glenn were speaking about this on Monday. That's the 7th game of the season Sunday, and he's picked up 5 bookings, right? Which just tells you everything you need to know about his disciplinary record so far this season. And I mean, I do like honest playing in terms of defensive midfielders and midfielders and any football players that you like to put in challenges. But Cam Butcher's challenges and Cam Butcher's his misdemeanours have been a little bit out of order, if I'm going to be brutally honest with you, because I mean, it was very unprofessional from Butcher's perspective, and then Sunday was a dangerous challenge. And then also I've got to question the integrity and the consistency of Don Robertson. I mean, everybody in Sky Sports, everybody that's watched the game on national television can notice that that's a red card offence. Yet there's a guy called Don Robertson who's the referee in that game in question that can't recognise that that's a send-off offence, which just goes to show you where Scottish football referees are just now. I know this is well within there's no question, but obviously Greg was raising the point with Colin Byers about refereeing the Clyde Peterhead game, so it's not just at the top level in this country, it's even down the levels as well.
I mean, yeah, if you go into sort of football, Pie and Bovril Football Forum, and you go in the west of Scotland, the Highland League, you go in east of Scotland, I'm pretty sure there'll be a thread, or there'll be comments from supporters that have went to a game and that level as well. And I mean, yeah, I do feel sorry for the referees as well, because you do remember that, they're just guys or women like yourself and I that go along primarily for the love of the game. But yeah, I mean, it's that one there from Sunday's a glaring mistake. And as I said, in terms of ultimately the right sort of justice has been done in terms of player being booked and being suspended, and obviously luckily as well, Turnbull, there's no sort of serious injury for club or for country, given the fact he's had an injury record in the past as well, Motherwell, that he's done well to recover from.
Dave, so obviously you were inside the Dun United Stadium on Sunday. See, in terms of you being in the stadium, did you notice it straight away?
Yeah, I was getting asked questions on Twitter probably 5 minutes after that incident in question. Do you think it was from Celtic fans and probably Dun United fans that follow me on Twitter? They were going to me. They were going, "Do you think it was a red card defence?" And yeah, we thought so. I mean, it looks a lot worse in the telly than it does on the pitch in question. And yeah, it was a dangerous challenge facing it eye to eye. But also, when you look at the game in terms of watching it back on the TV, there was a guy sitting beside me in the press box that had the game on, and I watched it back probably 30 seconds later, and you could notice that it was still a horrible looking challenge. And yeah, I mean, I was asked a question by somebody I know that's a podcaster, a bit like ourselves, right, on Monday, and they were asking for 5 talentless thugs. Now, I hate to be brutal here, right, but I was asked the question, 5 talentless thugs, and somebody actually mentioned Carl Butcher, which tells you everything you need to know.
Yeah, I feel in terms of that now, I know I was indulging myself earlier and kind of watched some of the Celtic State of Minds and talking about Kyogo and maybe being targeted as a diver sort of thing. I do think there's an element of that with referees. So on the same side that you will get players that are sort of labelled as more aggressive, more tenacious as well, and guys to keep an eye on, because let's bear in mind, referees do meet up on a weekly basis for training and stuff. Could be the Oriam, and if they're Edinburgh based, or Tory Glen, wherever, through the West as well, where they meet for regular training. And as I said, it's just like any sort of regular sort of football training where they get the guys converse and talk about their games. So I'm pretty certain, again, well, having spoken to some referees that go along to these things, that they do sort of discuss these sort of things where players do get mentioned. But yeah, it's an interesting thing in terms of Butcher. As I said, he's probably had a good start to his United career, but now he's kind of lost a bit of kind of any sort of talent or any sort of good records or kind of fans' favourites from him. That's kind of by the wayside.
You out after this tonight, Greg?
Well, my suede shirt, this is just a zippy.
Fantastic.
Is it going to be one of those nights, is it?
And the next thing I just want to speak to you guys is going to head to the football games tomorrow for Celtic and Rangers. What do you make of it? We'll start off with Celtic against Real Betis.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big game for Celtic tomorrow night, because I mean, it's a better side that beat them earlier on in the competition. It's going to be another hard game for Ange Postecoglou's side, but I think Ange Postecoglou's side is a different level and a different kettle of fish to the side that played in Spain or Seville, sorry, back in September. So as the makers have been a good game, and obviously the 12th man tomorrow night with the Green Brigade, and obviously the Celtic supporters who have backed their team in numbers over the last few weeks because of the fact that Ange is doing a good job at Celtic so far. And I did notice an article today, one of the papers, I think it was the Daily Record, about how Ange Postecoglou and Neil Lennon have same comparisons in terms of results and things like that. But then if you're going to be brutal about this, Ange Postecoglou is playing a much more attractive style of football than Neil Lennon is. And that is the deciding factor for me. I mean, he's also taken some much better caliber players such as Kyogo and Jota. I know the latter will be out for the next couple of weeks, which we'll touch upon. But Postecoglou is thinking about the long term here, and irrespective of the fact that they don't do well tomorrow night, it's probably a long term process for Celtic. Some Celtic fans won't recognise that or accept that, but considering where Celtic were at in the summer period, it's maybe the best thing for them just now.
I was just going to say, do you think they'll bring in some fringe players such as Scales, Greg Taylor, maybe.
Yeah, I was looking at that, to be fair, Regan. I think for me, it's effectively a dead rubber game. You know, you're playing a good La Liga opposition, and Real Betis are third in La Liga. So, I mean, they're above Barcelona and have had their troubles, and even Atletico Madrid as well. So they're no mugs. And as we see in the first game over in Seville, obviously earlier in the competition, they're a good side. They're an attacking side, but obviously Celtic kind of have to think in mind that they've got 8 games now before the break. As I said, you've kind of got like say Scales, McCarthy, Beaton, the Greek guys at Gaia Amakis as well. I think that's it. I will go with that. And these are guys that obviously Celtic are paying good money in terms of transfer fees or wages that probably want to give them a chance. As well, you've seen obviously in the Hearts game last week as well, where because of this type of football that Postecoglou is looking to play, it is quite energy sapping for the players. And if you're going to rely on guys to come in for a game or come on during the game as well, you want them to be up to speed. So I mean, it is an ideal chance to get these players in. Probably going back to yourself again, obviously being a Celtic supporter, how do you think this match will go tomorrow?
I don't think it'll go too well from a Celtic point of view because I watch a lot of Spanish football and I actually watched Betis play Barcelona at the weekend. They played very well, and I think this is probably the group that Celtic didn't want to be in. But I think it'll be good in terms of they've got a big game on Sunday against Motherwell, and they can rest a few players as well, Craig.
Yeah, I think they definitely have. I think with that cup final in mind as well. Obviously they've got the game against Motherwell, and then it's Ross County next Wednesday as well. So I mean, these are games where Celtic have to, by all means, have to pick up the 3 points and then go into that cup final as well. And as I said, you never know who could be in line up for a cup final appearance. We've seen. Obviously last season Connor Hazard playing in a cup final for Celtic. Strange things can happen, so I think it would be wise to freshen the team up. Again, I don't know in terms of the centre back pairings as well. They might want to have Starfield again play with Carter Vickers, which I think could be a good pairing sort of going forward for the time being. Obviously until Julien's back as well, but. How do we see it going in terms of result there? How do you think Celtic should approach it, Dave?
Ange Postecoglou mentioned to me on Sunday, I mean the press, me included, that he doesn't think tomorrow night's a dead rubber for Celtic. I mean, it's a game that there's no pressure attached to Celtic, let's put it that way. Also, I think it's a game for Celtic to show where they're at on a European basis so far. I mean, when they played Leverkusen a few weeks back, they were so close, and Postecoglou said that in that evening in question that they're not Leverkusen level yet, and I can understand where he's coming from because I mean Celtic are undoubtedly pulling ahead of the rest domestically here, with the exception of Rangers, but also in European terms, in terms of mentality and the quality. They're still a little bit off it. So it's an opportunity to see where Celtic are at just now, but also an opportunity to see what they could do without the likes of Jota and potentially Ralston. I mean, I think we've seen on Sunday, and you touched upon it perfectly there, with Greg Taylor coming out at Tavares on Sunday doing a really good job. William Scales I thought was brilliant when he came on, and I actually should have got you my audio piece for the night because I thought he spoke really well on Sunday. He's a really good speaker, and he's a very calm and composed guy, and I wish him every success at that club. But with regards to tomorrow, I think if Celtic can go and get the right nucleus of the team, despite there being no Jota, then they might be able to get a result, as I alluded to. They'll have the 12th man tomorrow. There is a lot of tickets still available on Wednesday, so that could have a say in how proceedings go, but I'm pretty sure that the 12th man of Celtic will deliver once again.
I was just going to say, do you think some fans will be put off by Celtic already being out and Betis already been through?
Well,
potential. Sorry, you go, Dave. And you go.
Okay. I've noticed some stuff in like Celtic Spurs on Twitter and everything like that people are selling tickets for tomorrow night, and I can kind of understand why, because they'll look at this by saying there's nothing to play for, there's no permutations from a sort of point of view with regards to progression into the next phase of the Europa League. So there is that, but also another token, it's an opportunity, as I alluded to there, to get a result and put down a statement to an extent.
Yeah, I think as well, Storm Barra's kind of affecting the country as well, and any viewers that are watching, hopefully you're all safe and well, whatever part of the country or abroad that you're watching us from. But obviously, as we're saying, a dead rubber game, middle of winter, obviously for people as well, coming up to Christmas as well. It is, if you've not purchased a ticket as well, obviously it can be a bit of an outlay. But as I said, I think for a lot of fans as well, having missed so much football, obviously during the lockdown period when the stadiums were closed for supporters, I think a lot will want to go along as well. And as I said, you're hoping that they're treated to a great game. I'm going to probably ask a question for yourself, Regan. Obviously, I think kind of offensively we're in agreement that Celtic are a much better outfit, but in this competition, Celtic have conceded 13 goals in 5 games. Is that a concern for you going into tomorrow night's game?
I don't know if it's a concern, because if you look at the games that they played, I thought in the Betis game they were very, very good. I think the problem, I don't know if David agrees with me, I think the problem was when Celtic go 2-1 up or it's 2-0 up, in the Betis case, they shut up shop a little bit and then they start to go in the shell, whereas I don't think an Ange Postecoglou team suits that way of playing, Dave.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, as I alluded to there, I thought Celtic were really good in the eye on Sunday on a domestic level, but the European level is a different kettle of fish altogether, and you need to be in the ball every minute of the game in order to go and get the result you want and strive for. And I mean, Celtic have kind of been found out on a European basis so far this season. Maybe only the result against Varos to an extent is probably the only time we can look at from a Celtic persuasion and go and say, okay, we've done well here. And also they've done well in various other games such as Leverkusen a couple of weeks back. But apart from that, they've always came up just a little bit short in some of the other games. So it kind of does tell you that Celtic do need to see where they're at just now, and tomorrow night is a good assignment in terms of that and seeing where they can improve, but also an impetus and a priority towards the European Conference League, because it's an opportunity for Celtic to go well far in the elite competition that way, and if they can start that and do well in that, then tomorrow night's the perfect springboard for Celtic to go and achieve what they want to achieve.
Dave, but then I've got a question for Celtic fans in the comments, or maybe even Rangers fans. Do you think Celtic fans and Rangers fans would want a European run if it meant derailing the league form? Because I don't know. See, with this for £40 million at stake this season, Greg, I think it's maybe too much for them, and they'll maybe say, well, if we can get a good run in Europe, it'd be great. It would be great, but I mean, you just look at the impact. Say Celtic go out of the Europa Conference League and they play on Saturday, but Rangers play on Sunday. Every single week they'll be putting pressure on Rangers before they even play a game.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. I think, the champion, the winning the league this season is priority for both clubs in Celtic and Rangers. And the money at stake in that is absolutely key. It's eye water, and it's going to be quite significant in terms of what it can do for the infrastructure of the clubs, and also bringing some better players than your rivals, isn't it? So I think that will be the problem. In terms of building that winning mentality and building European pedigree, I don't think, Celtic or Rangers, if, progressing in Celtic in the Conference League or Rangers obviously in Europa League, you kind of need to bring that winning mentality where you want to kind of get to quarter-finals, semi-finals and finals. So, but as I said, it's, but tomorrow's games were both, it's almost like a free hit in terms of it's almost can try things out in European competition and see how it lands up.
Yeah, I was going to point to that. I think tomorrow is kind of a free hit for Celtic, and I left the best terminology of that till the last. But also, I do agree with you. I think if you're going to sacrifice anything that's going to be successful at the Celtics campaign this year, it is not doing so well in Europe. I mean, Celtic have been accustomed and probably not so good away in terms of not doing well on European level, but going on to win titles and cups in the past few seasons, and you could probably see the same sequence happening again this year, where Celtic will do well here and there in Europe. I remember a couple of years ago they beat Lazio away from home, but still went on and win the league. But then you look at that season in question by saying Celtic did do very well in Europe, and I think this season has the potential of the same sequence to it. And also, sorry for being brutal here, Celtic fans, but you're a long way off behind Rangers right now, and this is a big month coming up for Celtic. I mean, you've got the League Cup final against Hibs a week on Sunday. You've got the Old Firm on the 2nd of January. That's 2 season-defining games for Celtic Football Club.
Dave, you're starting to sound like Chris Boyd there. I don't think Celtic are miles off Rangers. I have to disagree with that.
I'm not saying they're miles off Rangers. I'm just saying it's 2 season-defining games.
Yeah, I think it's 2 season-defining games, but I think it will be close this year. I think Celtic will run Rangers very, very close.
Yeah, but a lot closer than last season. Don't get me wrong. But the point I'm making is that if Celtic want to eradicate the points total that currently is between the two clubs, then they're going to have to go and win some massive games. And this starts probably after tomorrow when they play Motherwell at the weekend. And Ross County won't be easy up in England on the Wednesday night. And then it's the League Cup final. The festive period is always tougher on our teams. And then we've got the Old Firm on the 2nd of January. There's a lot. This is a season. This next month is a season definer for Celtic Football Club, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I totally get where you're coming from, but also on the same breath, I still think it's a season definer for Rangers as well, because as much as they're 4 points ahead, I don't think they're pulling up any trees, Greg.
I mean, I was going to say to you guys, I've got a question to end the show on in terms of who's going to win the league, so we'll leave that to the end. But I think Giovanni Van Bronckhorst has came in and done really well. I think it's kind of been spoken about on this show and by others as well, that potentially him coming in is actually a better appointment than Steven Gerrard. I think it's fair to say this season, you talked about pulling up any trees. I don't think they did. When you've got Connor Goldson coming out saying they've lost their hunger, I mean, that's a concern, and you're right to have the sort of red flags there against Rangers, but coming in here and having this, again, European mentality, I think where, you're kind of closed off from Scottish football and the Goldfish Bowl and all this sort of stuff. And so Giovanni Van Bronckhorst, although he's been here, he's, the single-mindedness, like we need to win. And again, flip side to that, Celtic have that, and Ange Postecoglou, who's came in here, doesn't subscribe to the Scottish media as well, who tackles things in his own way. And again, I don't know if he called you mate on Sunday there, Dave, but
no,
it's refreshing they both come in and have this sort of, it's almost, it can block out the noise, both managers. So, I mean, it's a really intriguing battle.
So, Greg, just touching on what you said there, so you think Van Bronckhorst is an upgrade on Steven Gerrard then?
Well, I think in terms of the record speaks for itself. He's been in 4 games and 4 victories. I think by all means he's Calvin Bassey, has came in playing centre back as well, who again looked like a backup left back in terms of Borna Barisic. Again, he's looking quite composed and quite accomplished here in the games he's played. I think as well he's getting a tune out of Joe Aribo now as well, playing as that number 10. Joe Aribo's looking, again, arguably could be Rangers' best player this season as well. Alan McGregor, who probably under Gerrard's last couple of games, people are wanting him out, wanting John McLaughlin back in, wanting Robert McCrory in goals. Again, he's sort of confiding the critics there. So, I mean, he's got a tune out the players straight away. And when you look at the Rangers' next sort of fixtures, obviously they've got the game against Leon tomorrow, which again I think is a bit of a free hit for them. But they've got 3 home games. They've got St John's at home, Dundee United, and St Mirren before the split. Which if I'm a Rangers supporter and if I'm Giovanni Van Bronckhorst, I'd be expecting 9 points there. So it kind of sets them up for. So already you're going 4 games here. Take this out of the equation, that's getting, potentially 7 wins out of 8. So he's building up a head of steam, and that's what you need going into these into the winter break.
Yeah, but I think the biggest test for Rangers will be at Tynecastle on Sunday, David.
Yeah, I mean, Hearts are a good side, and I'm not just saying that because Mr. Playfair's in the show, but honestly, Hearts are a really good side at Tynecastle. They probably play a different philosophy at Tynecastle compared to away from home, just because at home they're a lot more organised, they're a lot more robust in their approach play. Whilst away from home, I think we've seen it in the last 7 days where they can meet with Celtic Park on Sunday, controversially, I may add. And then on Sunday, they struggle to break down a resolute Livingston side and had to rely on some good Craig Gordon saves to keep Hearts in the game and maintain all 3 points. So, and then also Hearts are getting points on the board, but they're doing points on the board by doing things in a routine structure, and that's all you can ask for if you're a Hearts fan. And, I mean, it'll be the same on Sunday. Hearts will make things tough for Rangers, but the big priority for Van Bronckhorst tomorrow night is Leon. And I mean, it's an opportunity for Rangers to go and get some points here because their manager, Peter Walsh, if I'm not
Peter
mistaken.
Bosch, the ex-Ajax manager, is it?
Yeah, he's under fire at Leon just now. So it's a big game for Leon tomorrow, and it's a big game for Rangers. So has a few permutations to it.
Yeah, I mean, Leon's Europa League form. They've played 5-1-5. So I mean, again for them, it's also a bit of a free hit. But I think you're right. That he's under pressure, being 12th. Although there are only 4 points off fourth, and as I said, it's the French league's a bit like the Scottish Championship, and it's very the teams are all very packed together, where a couple of wins can take a team on a run of form. So. I would expect Leon, given the fact that it's at home as well, and given the fact that he's under pressure for his league form, he probably will make 1 or 2 changes. So I think it will be an attacking lineup. I think Van Bronckhorst just came out today in the press and he said that he will make 1 or 2 changes. Again, I know that Balogun's not travelled, and there are question marks around whether Morelos and Sakala may miss out, or they may be sort of rested on the bench, given the fact that they are one booking away from a suspension. So I mean, it could give the likes of obviously Nathan Patterson, Lundstrom, Ryan Jack, Ruth, and Exton Scott Wright a chance to start as well.
I just wanted to ask you guys a question. You spoke there about Van Bronckhorst. Do you think then looking at it a few weeks down the line, do you think Gerard leaving was possibly the right thing for this Rangers squad? Because I thought about it last night, and maybe I thought, well, maybe the players were getting fed up of Gerard's tactics, and that's why they didn't play so well this season, especially going out in the Champions League playoff round as well, Greg.
Yeah. Again, sometimes, I think we were on this, I can't remember if it was myself and Dave or someone else, but we mentioned that when the players, it was Jermaine Defoe, obviously was a caretaker manager, and it had that whole vibes of, when your teacher's off at school and you just get the substitute and then the classes take the absolute mickey. It seemed like that, they were going to be with Nerf guns, shooting each other and stuff. It was Kamara Ruth actually shooting Jermaine Defoe and stuff, and it just seemed like, almost like the strict teacher, the authoritarian is a way out, and it was just like, it seemed interesting that was the instant reaction. Again, I don't doubt that there's fun that goes up and down dressing rooms across Scotland and beyond, but that sort of stuff wouldn't have gotten out if Gerrard was still there. And obviously you kind of seen with the form there, obviously they were kind of tailing off, but sometimes you need someone coming in just to pick up the good work that's been there. The foundations are there, so you look at Postecoglou coming into Van Bronckhorst, and it's night and day in terms of the team you're getting. Postecoglou came in for a team that was low in confidence and much maligned, and players kind of chased back to loan clubs and like Duffy, etc. Whereas Van Bronckhorst just came in and the players are the champions. They're still playing well in terms of league, but I think it's probably, for me, it could be a blessing. I think the biggest miss obviously will be Michael Beale, who again, funnily enough, today was involved in the recruitment of a new academy head of coaching for Rangers as well, which was announced today for a Zeb Jacobs, the Belgian coming from Royal Antwerp. So I mean, that's it kind of shows the impact he had in the club, and I think again he will be, from what players have said as well for accounts, he'll be a bigger miss than actually possibly Gerrard.
I mean, I think he definitely will. See, one of the things that it maybe raised alarm bells for me was when Jermaine Defoe was on Sky Sports for 4 weeks in a row doing Sky Sports commentary, and I'm starting to think, I think something's going wrong here, because I think 2 of those times he was on Sky Sports, Rangers were playing at the same time, and I was like, whoa, I don't know if something's wrong here.
Probably, and I mean, a lot of these things we'll never find out about externally, unfortunately, because I mean, clubs as high an institute and as high a pedigree as Rangers or Celtic wouldn't want these things getting made out public about why people are going in media and doing commentating games in England when the specific club in Scotland have a game on at Sunday lunchtime, or in this case. So yeah, I mean, you could definitely tell that something was not bubbling very well. You could definitely tell that something was burning, and not burning in a very good way. I may add, close to a fire, a state pie fire. Just to add a good measure in there, Regan. And yeah, I mean, Van Bronckhorst came in. They're playing a similar philosophy, and he's getting results out of it. And he's not had to change much, because why change it if it's broke? And it's not broke. So yeah, Van Bronckhorst came in and kept things ticking over, and he's kept getting the big wins that he's getting.
So guys, have we got a prediction for the Rangers game tomorrow? Again,
I'm gonna go for 2-0 Leon.
Yeah, I was going to go 2-1 Leon as well. I just think, I think obviously Peter Bosz is desperate to get a result, and I think Moussa Dembele, the ex-Celtic player as well, is kind of fanning the flames, and I know he likes to get a goal against Rangers. What are you thinking, Regan?
I'm going to go 2-1 Rangers.
Speaking up Scottish football, I mean, yeah, I mean that's by all means, as I said, as you're right, Van Bronckhorst is kind of been on a winning run. Probably need to go back and maybe get our predictions for the Celtic game. I don't know. We'll come to yourself first, Dave. What do you think for Celtic tomorrow?
Yeah, I'm going to be positive here. I'm going to go for 2-1 Celtic win.
I'm going to go Celtic 1, Real Betis 3.
I also float with the idea 3-1. I've also went for 3-1. I just think for that, it's just the way in which Celtic attack. I think they need to freshen up the squad, obviously, to protect them for the cup final and the league games, which they can't drop points in. And again, I think Postecoglou is very single-minded in that he'll attack. So I'm agreeing with you, Regan, on that one.
So, guys, the next thing we're going to move on to is the impact at Motherwell of Tony Watt. So, what have you guys made of Tony Watt? Because he is the top goal scorer in Scotland.
Yeah, I made the point on Monday, Regan, that Tony Watt's been scoring different goals for Motherwell. His build-up play, his overall play on the ball, also his overall play off the ball has been very good. And as I touched on there just a second ago, his style of goals and the different variation of goals is very pleasing to see as well. He's not just scoring 6 yard across the middle beyond the goalkeeper strikes. It's 20, 30 yard strikes sometimes. Sometimes it's curling into the box and then banging them into the top corner, upper bottom corner. Sometimes it's straight across the middle. There's a variation of goals there, and that's 9 goals for the season for Tony Watt. He has been a hugely impressive player for Graham Alexander's side.
Yeah, I think adding to that as well, it's 9 goals in 17 games and 1 League Cup goal as well early in the competition. So I think previous to this season, he'd only scored 4 league goals when he joined just at the end of the January window in 2020. So I mean, you can see there as well in terms of the impact he's had this year. Obviously, it was a curtailed season, but it's probably the best form he's had in his career, arguably. I think before joining Motherwell, he'd just turned 26, and this was going to be his 10th club. I think he's admitted himself he kind of chased the coin a little bit when some of these leagues go to Bulgaria and Belgium, and obviously down to the Championship with like Cardiff and Blackburn and Charlton, etc. So he did chase coin, but I think probably the penny's dropped now. I think he seems to be quite settled off the pitch as well as on it. As we're saying, I think he kind of knows his role within this Motherwell team. He is now seen as an elder statesman. Which is mad when you think about him being that young teenager that scored against Barcelona, but now he is sort of seen as a mature player that's going to bring others into play. I think as well he seems settled at Motherwell. I think he's done a lot of interviews as well with the club's own in-house media. I think he buys into the club's ethos as well, around gets involved with the community projects as well that Motherwell do. And I think that if a player's happy with the club and is happy outside the pitch as well, I think that makes a massive difference. So, from the interviews he gave, certainly in the summer as well, and he was doing one as well with some of the podcasters during the Euros, and he seems quite settled. So, if a happy player, a settled player, I think that translates to on the pitch. Probably the question that a few people are asking now is, should get a call up for Scotland. I'll come to you, Regan. Do you think he's good enough to play for Scotland?
I do think he's good enough, but I don't think he'll get a call up, to be honest.
And why is that?
Just because I thought he would get the call up the last time, but Steve Clarke chose Jacob Brown instead. But I don't know what you think, Dave.
I think it's early days. I mean, we've not even passed Christmas yet. We've not even passed Valentine's yet. So there you go. That just tells you how single we all are right now. I don't know about you, Greg, but it tells you how single me and Regan are. That we want to get Christmas and Valentine's out the way in the big game in March. But Tony Watt and yeah, I mean, he's got 3 months to go and prove himself again in terms of scoring more goals and adding to the fine work that he's been doing so far this season for Motherwell. If he can go and do that, then Steve Clarke has a big choice on his mind.
I think he needs to sustain the form, though, doesn't he? Because I think I've said there, like, looking into it, if I get his kind of stats up there, over a 7-8 year career, he scored 13 goals this season, and the other 36 were over the rest of the 7-8 years. So you can kind of see that this season is 13 goals this season, 10 goals this season. Sorry. So again, another sort of 39er spread amongst the rest of his career. And I mean, I even remember him back at Hearts, and he was so disinterested and so out of shape as well that I remember, I've kind of got friends and stuff that were involved at Hearts, and they were saying, like, just kind of physically as well, he just didn't look like a professional in terms of. You remember that challenge that people did with the whole? They used to like do a freeze frame, Black Beatles or something. And I remember Hearts done it, and obviously the guys were in the gym and had their top off, and all the Hearts fans were aghast, being like, "Is that Tony Watt? Like, just doesn't look like it looked like a more a Sunday league player than a professional." Age 23 as well, and I think that was something which Neil Lennon had said at Celtic. He wasn't professional enough, and I think that's been a sort of followed him earlier in his career, not being professional. I think he's told a story in a podcast that when he signed for was it Liers, when he first signed for there, he went on a night out and was out for like a big massive bender. But I think since then, talking about being off the field, I don't think he drinks now. I don't think he's quite settled. I don't know if he's married, but he's certainly in a long-term relationship. So I think all that kind of adds into him. But going back to Scotland, he plays on the left for Motherwell as part of a front three. Scotland don't really play that formation. Again, Jacob Brown was kind of called up because of he kind of Stoke player, sort of 3-5-2, 3-4-3. So it's kind of why he was maybe called up. But could Tony Watt do it in a Scotland shirt for you, Dave?
I think so. I mean, we've got a lot of attackers, probably at this precise moment in time, that are doing well and are fitting into the mould of Steve Clarke's philosophy and the system. But also, the argument is that they're not renowned goal scorers. Tony Watt is just now. and there's no question that he can fit into the system if it's correct for both parties.
See, one of the biggest things for me, I think that Tony Watt, he feels very appreciated by the Motherwell supporters and also at the club as well. I don't think he's felt that support with other clubs as well, Greg and Dave.
Yeah, I think definitely. I think when he's had such a nomadic career, I think obviously had loan spells in England, obviously with Cardiff and Blackburn. When you're a loan player as well, you're kind of appreciated for a short space of time, and then obviously going to Belgium as well. I think obviously done well enough at Liège to get that move to Standard Liège. But Hearts, I think fans wanted him to do well, but just physically, I think the problem is he was signed as a striker, but he was dropping too deep, kind of playing as a number 10 almost, kind of try to get involved. And then obviously his time at St Johnstone after that, it just, in a Tommy Wright team, I didn't think he was the right player as well. Again, playing alongside like Chris Kane, who does that role in terms of it makes himself busy as a striker, drops in deep, runs the channels. Again, Tony Watt's not your figurehead as well, so that was an odd pairing. So sometimes the club just fits for a player. And the formation and whatnot. And I think Tony Watt is good enough to be your number 9 at Motherwell as well. But I think playing that left will really, really suits him. As I said, it's traditionally, you go back to almost like you can have a player like a winger or that can be out of the game. You have your number 9, your striker that works the centre halves, can create space, and that can, as you said, she's go at the weekend. You can see Tony Watt can score. So I think if I was advising Tony Watt, and if he wants to pay for my advice, you're more than welcome, Tony. But I would, if you're happy there and you're enjoying it, I would stay at Motherwell.
And I think one of the important things we need to stress as well, I think the manager at Motherwell's played a big role as well, David.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Graham Alexander's a real good manager, and he's one of these managers that won't exactly play the most attacking sense of football. He does have quite a robust approach about him. Also, what I do see from when he's worked with Motherwell and also his stints in England is he has an approach of getting one or two strikers that will pose a threat to opposition defenders, but also have a good nucleus defensively and in the midfield areas. And they've shown that in certain aspects so far this season, but also on a Tony Watt level. He's probably getting the best out of Tony Watt in terms of playing him out on that left-hand side, which probably allows Tony Watt to score goals, but also do a bit of the hard work as well. So it's a win-win from both Tony Watt and Graham Alexander's perspective.
And I mean, the next thing we're going to speak about now is a big game in the Premiership tonight, and that is at the Tony Macaroni Arena. How do we see this game going tonight, guys, between David Martindale's side and Jack Ross's side? So, yeah, it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, it's a hard one to call, to be honest. Livy have only won 1 home game from 7. Hibs have won 2 away games from 7. A win for both sides is going to do, wonders. Hibs win tonight, they go into the top 6. If Livingston win, they pull away from 11th on up to 8th. That's a massive boost for either side. I think Livy, they've said, I think Scott Pittman may be coming back in, although probably likely to be the bench. I think I said in one of the shows last week that I'm not a fan of Livingston's centre midfield. I know, obviously, for first 25 to 80 minutes, Hearts were up against it. I still think they're a bit lightweight there in terms of Omiyonga and Holt. Whereas Hibs are really dominant there, and Doyle Hayes and Newell, I think they're really good. One of the best pairings probably in the league, you could argue, in terms of centre mid. And again, striking options as well. I said as well, I'm not convinced that Bruce Anderson is going to be your single number 9 on his own. I think he's good as a foil for someone else as well. And I think Livingston tonight, they could flood the midfield again tonight as well, and then kind of hope for playing for second balls or playing for set pieces to get their goal. But I'm toying. I would never like to back Hibs to win a game, being a Hearts fan, but I don't know. I'll come to yourself, Dave. What do you think? How do you think this will go?
Well, first and foremost, Greg, I need to clarify what you just said there, because your man Bruce Anderson is not starting tonight for Livingston. The Livingston team is as follows: Strydick, Devlin, Fitzwater, Parks, Penrith, Holt, Ominoga, if that's pronounced correctly, Millen, Sibbald, Forrest, and Shinnie. So it sounds like
Same team from Sunday, yeah.
Well, it sounds like Martindale's been the system and the team that worked when they beat Celtic at the Tony Macaroni Arena. Didn't play a recognised striker, played Andrew Shinnie. So Andrew Shinnie, I can kind of understand where he's coming from, Martindale, because I think Martindale's using Shinnie as an opportunity to try and bully Porteous a little bit here, because Porteous is the type of player that when he gets bullied or gets put under pressure, he doesn't react very well. And he's came out on BBC yesterday and says that he doesn't mind people having a go at him on social media and all this kind of stuff. But also, I think we've seen it with Morelos. We've seen it with other strikers in the league. Whenever he gets put under pressure, or whenever there's a good forward line that's going to go in trouble, the Hibs defence, and in particular Ryan Porteous always seems to be found out. And I think that's what Martindale's trying to do this evening. But in terms of that Livingston midfield area, I think that's a good midfield area as well. And, being a neutral, I would be quietly confident that Livingston can go and get a result tonight.
Can I give you the Hibs team before we go to Regan for your opinion? So it's looks like a 4-3-3 for Hibs with Matt Mason goals, Paul McGinn, Ryan Porteous, Paul Hanlon, Doig. In the middle, you've got Doyle Hayes, Newell, and Campbell, and then you've kind of got Martin Boyle, Jamie Murphy, and Kevin Nisbet. So kind of look like a 4-3-3 for Hibs.
Yeah, I mean, the last time they went there, they won by 3-0. I expect Jack Ross's team to win, to be honest, guys. David knows that I don't like the AstroTurf Park. I'm not a fan of it, so it's no disrespect to Livingston, but I hope for the good of Scottish football that they can maybe take that park away and do the special thing for Scottish football, and because I don't think it's good for the TV cameras going to either, Greg.
I thought you were going to say, I hope they get relegated. I thought you were going to say something controversial there, Regan. Do a Hamilton like last season and get relegated. Listen, I get it. In terms of like kind of aesthetically, in terms of what we have, I know the Dutch League, for example, the Eredivisie, they used to have teams allowed with it. But then what happened was Ajax and other teams, it was Ajax and Feyenoord, maybe and Giovanni Vabrokas was there.
Yeah.
They put money aside from the European competition so that teams could afford to put down a grass pitch. Are Celtic or Rangers or everyone's league going to do that for Livingston, part of the 40 million? It would be intriguing to know. But I can see it in terms of a community aspect because, they after the pandemic as well, they're almost a community club. They're a club that want to, obviously, they train there during the week as well, so it saves on costs. They've not got a training centre. Also, they can allow their youth team, they can allow their women's team to play there. I know we're going to talk about women's football later on the show anyway, Regan, but, I think for sustainability, for community use, you kind of see that, but I suppose it comes a question is, should that be allowed in the top flight of Scottish football? It's probably one that I'm traditional. I prefer grass. I hope that they didn't. But in terms of, especially I know you were at the Cove game the other week as well there, Dave, where they, I know they play in the Balmoral Stadium in a 3G pitch again, sustainable for the community. But you kind of understand that, Scottish football isn't awash with money at this moment in time. And as I said, we could do a separate podcast for hours actually on this. We could do a 3-hour special on this, on the state of Scottish football, getting into the nitty gritty. But it's a leveler for Livingston as well. And when it comes to these games, again, but most teams now train on 3G in terms of, especially in the winter as well. And a lot of players now grown up in Scotland have played on 3G most of their careers as well. So it's an interesting point.
Livingston or Queen's Park, who would be better in SPFL? It's Scottish Premiership, I think, what you're trying to say here.
Yeah, I mean, I would go with Queen's Park, simply because I'm a big romantic, and Queen's Park are the oldest club in Scottish football, and I think what Leanne Dempster and the new Dutch guy are doing, I think is fantastic. So I hope Queen's Park do well. I see it was quite funny to see them beat Falkirk by 6 goals, and I hope Falkirk fans are listening in and can have a bit of a chuckle here. But it's not a statement; it's a question.
I mean, like for me, I like Livingston in terms of where they came up as well. You could say Queen's Park are pumping money into their teams. I know Colin, our Peterhead fan, will say similar. They're buying titles with Willie Hawley's money and Leanne Dempster. They're bankrolling their way through there. But I mean, to see them body Falkirk 6-0 the weekend, and to be honest, having watched the highlights again, Falkirk TV didn't show them. It could have easily been double figures there, talking about Falkirk, who again on the lookout for a manager as well, which it probably is the most poison chalice manager's role in Scottish football, the Falkirk job.
I mean, it definitely is. Something I just wanted to touch on with you guys was, do you think Jack Ross will be under pressure?
I think tonight's a massive game for Jack Ross. Sorry, I'll just move my camera here. I'm just trying to show all the viewers my cosy sofa that's in my mum's here. So apologies for moving my laptop a little bit there. But yeah, I think tonight is a massive game for Jack Ross game, because I mean, you look at tonight by saying that with the exception of winning at St Johnstone a week past Saturday there, he's not done well in terms of league results, and I mean he picked up a good result in terms of drawing on Saturday against Motherwell. But apart from that, I think this is a big game for Jack Ross. I mean, it'll be good to put down a marker ahead of the League Cup final, Premier Sports Cup final, the weekend Sunday. I touched upon it on Monday with Glenn. This is a big 3-game window for Hibs. They've got Livingston tonight. They've got St Mirren on Saturday, and they've got Dundee a week next Tuesday. I think 6 points has to be a bare minimum requirement for Hibs in the next 6 days.
To be fair, Hibs take a lot of things from St Mirren, so I'm sure they'll just ask St Mirren to take 3 points from them, to go along with the players and Jack Ross, coaching staff, that they've off-field staff as well that they've taken from St Mirren. So I'm expecting them to get 3 points there. But to be honest, in terms of Jack Ross, he'll get the final now. I can't see him going unless Hibs have a Livingston 5-0 defeat that Hearts had a couple of Decembers ago under Craig Levein. I mean, that would probably, if it was a heavy defeat, that's the only way I could see it happening. But looking at the Hibs lineup and looking at the squad, I probably would edge for a 1-0 Hibs win tonight. But what do you think, Regan? Do you think he's under pressure?
I just want to say, David, this is no disrespect, but I think Stephen Glass's team Aberdeen, they've been honking this season, and they're ahead of Jack Ross's team this season. So I think that just says all for me, Dave, that Stephen Glass he's been looking to. I mean, he's only got 2 back-to-back wins all season, and they find himself ahead of Jack Ross and Hibs. I just think it shows how unpredictable Scottish football is. But in terms of tonight's game, Greg, I'm going to go for 2-0 to Hibs.
1-0 Hibs.
1-0 Hibs. Despite no Livy fans here on the podcast. I think moving on, I think you're keen to touch on it as well. I know you went to the Women's Scottish Cup final on Sunday, Regan, where you witnessed Celtic beat I suppose, slight favourites Glasgow City and 1-1. What was your assessment of the game?
I was very impressed by Celtic, first and foremost, and I thought Glasgow City played well as well. So overall, it was a great advert for women's football, and there was nearly 4,000 people there. So yeah, it was great. Apart from it being absolutely freezing and staying there 2 hours after the game, seeing the trophy being lifted. But I sent it to Dave on WhatsApp, and I showed. I managed to get a steak and sausage pie from the Pie Sports, so that was a great bonus as well.
Is that why you want Queen's Park in the top flight, because they play at Thistle Stadium, so you get that more often?
Yeah, I think I'll go. I think I'll go along to Partick Thistle more often.
No, it's good.
No, but I think it just shows that what Celtic and Rangers going full time has done for the women's game. it's brought a lot more profile. And as they will know, I've interviewed Fran Alonso. I think he's a great guy, and obviously he's worked with some great coaches such as Pochettino as well. So obviously he knows what he's doing, and I think Celtic are going from strength to strength. But it'll be interesting to see this season because, as we know, Dave, Glasgow City have won 14 Premier Leagues in a row. So be interesting to see if Celtic or Rangers can break that duck and try and overcome Glasgow City.
Yeah, from a Glasgow City persuasion, it's not the result that Eileen Gleeson would have been wanting earlier on in her tenure. Because I mean, she'd have wanted to start her tenure off by winning a big cup final. Because Glasgow City are accustomed to winning trophies and getting into cup finals. So I know there was a disappointment from Glasgow City perspective, but also for Celtic, a very good win for Fran Alonso's side. They were very good, and I know that when you look at the game as a whole, I know Lee Alexander was Glasgow City's man of the match, and there was a lot of good individual performances for Celtic, which led to the complexion result in terms of Celtic within the League Cup, and it was a good result from a Celtic persuasion because that was the first cup in 11 years, and it shows people how old I am because the last time Celtic won the League Cup or won a cup. One of the players in that Celtic team was my ex-PE teacher, which just goes to show you where we're at just now in terms of that. But question, guys, SPL or MLS? What the question is about is what do you think is the better league? But would you rate the SPL as a stronger league than the MLS if you take the finances out of the equation?
Come to me. I'll jump in first because I love defending Scottish football. Absolutely, Scottish football again. To the MLS, they market it quite well. They've got a good theory in terms of salary cap. So, I mean, I think I said earlier in the chat that you've got teams like Celtic or Rangers go up against a Livingston who've probably got 10 times the budget. That doesn't happen in the MLS. You've kind of got designated players, designated stars sort of thing that come along. So it's a lot more competitive in that aspect. But, I mean, some of the chances here at these games as well, it's so sanitized and just so like absolute terrible to watch. The football standard, as I said, one of my favourite games of football I watched in the last couple of years was Celtic Bonnerig, but just before lockdown in the Lowland League. It's honestly that game of football is probably better than anything I've watched ever on MLS level. So for me, it's SPL every day of the week.
Yeah, I mean, I've not really watched the MLS that much. I managed to watch it a couple of years ago when David Villa was on it because he was one of my favourite players to watch. But I don't think it compares to Scottish football because even though Neil Doncaster, Ian Maxwell, whoever, I don't think they market the game very well. I think, Dave, I think me and you and Greg could market the game better than Neil Doncaster does because we've been on this show for an hour and we've said so many good things about Scottish football. And to be honest, I was looking a couple of days ago and I seen on Twitter that Scottish football has got the worst TV deal in Europe, and that just sums up for me. Because if you look at a product, even though we had 3 games on last week, those 3 games were not advertised. We had 2 managers in the Scottish Premiership that didn't even know that their team was playing on the night of the game. You also had fans that didn't even know the games were on, so chose to went to the game, which is better to go to the games. But some fans didn't even know.
Yeah, it's poor. I mean, one other final thing just kept my head as well. Like you've got one of MLS's best young talents or young strikers, and Chris Muller, he's coming from Orlando City to join Hibs as well. So again, I believe he could have taken his pick at any club, and the MLS is coming to join the SPFL. So for me, that kind of is another tick and another argument for our league being the best.
Yeah, but then you've got the best Scottish midfielder, people would say, and Ryan Gold. I'm only joking, by the way, but he's ripping it up over there because people seem to love him.
He's playing with a guy that played with Motherwell a couple of seasons ago that I absolutely couldn't even tell you his name. If he came there now and robbed me and told me he played for Motherwell, like, I'm not weird to actually play for Motherwell, I couldn't tell you he was. Like, he's one of those guys that, you know what I mean? And this is the standard where it is guys that, like, you know, was it Ashiko was like 38 when he's playing with LA Galaxy and stuff like that? I mean, come on. Like, I know Ashiko's a great player and stuff, but I mean, it is still a sort of retirees league a little bit as well for some of these players. I mean, there is a few South American talents that you get, but you know, Higuain's going there. I think he's put on a bit of weight. I don't know if you've watched MLS. He's put on some timber as well. So, I mean, what's his name? Phil Neville's son is now getting, you know, in the periphery of the squad. Same way Beckham's laddie as well. So. Nah, absolutely not. Could they do it at a Wednesday night at the Tony Macaroni? Absolutely not.
Yeah, I mean, talking about MLS, I spoke to Mackay Stephen a few months ago. I was in the same place as him, staying over, and I said to him, "I can't believe you chose to move back to Edinburgh from New York," and he just laughed at me. So, no, obviously they've got some great cities. I mean, Johnny Russell, he lives over there as well, but I don't think it's any slight on Scottish football, because I think Scottish football, if they market it properly, it's a very good league.
Yeah, hate to be self-conscious here, Iggy, but I need to pinpoint 9 days ago when I'm having to tell Tom Coates that he's on the telly for last Tuesday's game against Motherwell. That just tells you that we're undervaluing the TV deal that we have in this country.
Okay, guys, so on that note, I think we've been a bit over time, but thank you for joining me. It's been great to have you on, and it was great for people to tune in. So thank you for watching us as well, and remember to subscribe to the Estate of Mind YouTube channel.
Have a good evening, folks.